gentlemen, for hosting this. I think, first off, if you followed all this today, what you'll clearly come to the conclusion is Republicans believe that you censor, and Democrats think it's pretty good what you're doing. We're blessed to live in the United States, a democracy where we are granted individual freedoms and liberties under the Constitution. This isn't the case around the world. We can look at what's happening in Communist China right now. General Secretary Xi is committing horrible human rights abuses against China's minority communities and censoring anyone that speaks out about their oppression. The Chinese Communist Party surveils their citizens and uses state-run media to push their propaganda, control information their citizens consume, and hide their human rights abuses. Twitter and Facebook are banned in Communist China. So you can understand why it's concerning that we're even discussing this issue, that big technology companies are interfering with free speech. The American people entrust your companies with their information. They believe that you will protect their information and allow them to use your platforms to express themselves freely. I don't think any one person has signed up for any of your platforms and expects to be blocked or kicked off because of their political views. But it's becoming obvious that your companies are unfairly targeting conservatives. That's clearly the perception today. Facebook is actively targeting ads by conservative groups ahead of the election, either removing the ads completely or adding their own disclosure if they claim it didn't pass their fact check system. But their fact check is based on reports from known liberal media groups like PolitiFact, which clearly is a liberal media group. Twitter censored Senator Mitch McConnell and put warnings on several of the president's tweets. And until recently, they completely blocked the American people from sharing the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop and suspended the New York Post account. The New York Post is one of the most circulated publications in the United States. This isn't some fringe media outlet filled with conspiracy theories. Yet you allow murderous dictators around the world to freely use your platform. Let me give you a few examples. On Twitter, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah tweeted calling for the elimination of the Zionist regime. He said on May 21, 2020, the elimination of the Zionist regime does not mean the massacre of the Jewish people. The people of Palestine should hold a referendum. Any political system that they vote for should govern in all of Palestine. The only remedy until the removal of the Zionist regime is firm armed resistance. I would like to know first why Twitter let that stay up and why the Ayatollah has not been blocked. In May 2019, Maduro, a murderous dictator, tweeted a photo of him backed by his military for a march after 3 people were killed and 130 injured during protests in his country. The tweet describes the march as a clear demonstration of the moral strength and integrity of our glorious armed forces, which is always prepared to defend peace and sovereignty. I would say this glorifies violence, which Twitter has flagged President Trump for, but Twitter let that stand. General Secretary Xi's communist regime pushed by hide the fact that it's committing a genocide against the Uyghurs, forcing millions into internment camps because of their religion. On September 1, a Chinese government account posted on Twitter, Xinjiang camps, more fake news. What the Chinese government has done in Xinjiang has created the possibility for the locals to lead better lives. But truth that simply goes against the anti-China narrative will not be reported by some biased media. Clear lie. It has been widely reported that this claim by the Chinese government is false, but Twitter took no action. Your companies are inconsistently applying their own rules with an obvious bias. Your companies are censoring free speech. You target the president, the White House press secretary, Senator Mitch McConnell, the Susan B. Anthony list of pro-life group, while giving dictators a free, unfettered platform. It is our responsibility to hold your companies accountable and protect Americans' ability to speak freely on their platforms, regardless of their political views or the information they choose to share. You can't just pick and choose which viewpoints are allowed on your platform, expect to keep the immunity granted by Section 230. So, Mr. Dorsey, you allow dangerous dictators on your platform. Tell me why you flag conservatives in America, like President Trump or Leader McConnell, but potential misinformation while allowing dictators to spew their propaganda on your platform.
We have taken actions around leaders around the world, and certainly with some dictators as well. We look at the tweets, we review them, and we figure out if they violate our policy or not.
Mr. Dorsey, can you tell me one you did against Iran? The Ayatollah? Can you tell me about one you've ever done against Ayatollah or Maduro?
I think we've done more than one actually, but we can send you that information on those actions. But we want to make sure that we do have a global leader policy, that we believe it's important. People can see what these leaders are saying, and those tweets remain up, but they are labeled that they violated our terms of service, just to show the integrity of our policy and our enforcement.
When the Communist China, which we all know has put 1 million people, Uyghurs, in camps, you did nothing about the tweet where they say that they're just helping them lead a better life. I mean, you can just follow. Anybody that follows the news knows what's happening to the Uyghurs. I mean, it's genocide what they're doing to the Uyghurs. And I've never seen anything you've done on calling out a lie.
We don't have a general policy around misleading information and misinformation. We don't. We rely upon people calling that speech out, calling those reports out and those ideas, and that's part of the conversation. Is if there is something found to be in contest, then people reply to it. People retweet it and say that this is wrong. This is obviously wrong. You would be able to quote tweet that today and say this is absolutely wrong, and we benefit from more of those voices calling that out.
So, but you block Mitch McConnell and Trump's tweets, and you just say, right? I mean, here's what I don't get: is that you guys have set up policies that you don't enforce consistently, and then what's the recourse to a user? I talked to a lady this week that she just got her Facebook account just eliminated. There's no recourse. There's nothing she can do about it. So every one of you have these policies that you don't enforce consistently. So what should be the recourse?
We do enforce them consistently. And as I said in my opening remarks, we believe it's critical that we have more transparency around our process. We have clear and straightforward and efficient appeals. So the woman that you talked to could actually appeal the decision that we made. And that we focus on algorithms and figuring out how to give people more choice around it.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Senator Rosen.